Let's talk about independent writing with an alternative pencil. Alternative pencils are tools that give students access to all 26 letters of the alphabet. They can be paper-based, like the Pod alphabet page you see here, or they can be electronic, like the keyboard page on TouchChat. Alternative pencils make writing accessible. They are for our students who can't hold a traditional pencil. There's often a lot of confusion around what counts as writing for students who use AAC. When they're using their AAC system and they're picking symbols from their home page and they're making a phrase word by word, this is language. Now, when we go to their keyboard page and they select letters to spell things, this is writing. So that's the difference. It doesn't count as writing if we are just using language with AAC. We have to actually be composing text letter by letter for it to count as writing. So now that you know what an alternative pencil is and what writing is and what it is not with AAC, I think it's time we dive right into Erin Sheldon's independent writing cycle for emergent writers. This looks like a lot of text, but I promise it's not complicated. I'm going to walk you through it. First things first, we need something to write about. We need to create a context. We need to play, explore, experience things. Then we are going to model language with AAC. We're going to take their device, we're going to write sentences, make comments while we are playing and creating and exploring. Next is the invite, and I think of this a lot as the planning part of our writing cycle. We are going to offer our student ideas of things that we could write together. And we'll do this with language, with AAC. Depending on their language level, they might be able to do this more independently. But if not, we can offer them ideas of things that we could write and ask them, do you want to write that? Yes or no? And get their input. Invite them into co-creating the message together. Once you've decided on what you're going to write, you want to delete it. This isn't a copying activity. Next is the writing part. We take out their alternative pencil or we open up to their keyboard page and the student is going to select the letters on their own to spell the message. This is their opportunity to use their working knowledge of phonics and apply that with spelling in real time. We are going to talk about the letters and letter sounds that they choose, and we're going to attribute meaning to the things they pick. Once they are done writing, then we will have a turn to model how we would spell it. Then we read it together, as many times as they're interested to. We tell them that we'll read it out loud and they can read it with the voice in their head. And then finally, we share it with others. We want to celebrate them in their writing. We can show their friends and talk about what they wrote about. Let's check out an example to see how this actually looks. So this is a student who uses LAMP Words for Life. It was December 7th, 2021, and his class was talking about winter in Vancouver, a rare occasion when it had snowed, and making snowmen. His educational assistant was modeling different phrases on his LAMP Words for Life. They decided together to write the message, tall black hat. They opened up the keyboard and the student selected the letters AAQWEREHAW. His educational assistant scribed these for him, and then she modeled writing tall black hat when he was done. And she took the letters that he had chosen and used some of them in her writing. So when she was writing tall, she said, tall, I need an A, and you have an A right there. I'm going to steal that. And she put that into her word. So she was connecting what the student had written to her spelling of the message. Then they wrote his name with the keyboard. You can see he spelt it ZW. And that was what their journal looked like for that day with his emergent independent writing. Let's take a look at another example from the same student a few months later. To the naked eye, you might think, okay, this still looks really random. a bunch of letters, no spaces. But it's actually quite a big improvement for this student because if you look closely, there are some of the letters that we need to spell caterpillars are fuzzy. This student is using his working knowledge of phonics and applying it in his writing. This is creative spelling. It's just using a keyboard. So if we're saying to our student, we'll write caterpillars, and we're sounding that out really slowly, stretching it out, and they're picking sounds like C, A, and T in the right order, then we can see in real time that, hey, they know what that sound is. They're making that connection. This really gives us a window into their mind, and we get to start to see, okay, that sound makes sense to them, and they know it's connected to this letter, and they're choosing it right now in their writing, and that makes sense. It really helps us know what they know. You might be thinking, oh my gosh, this is so weird. Why would I do this with my student? And I just want to remind you that this is developmentally normal. Take a look at that picture on the left. A typically developing 3-year-old wrote all of that. And it doesn't mean anything. But when you ask them about it, they have a lot to say. They'll tell you it's about the life cycle and go on and on and on about what their writing means. At this developmental level, they are learning all about the function of print. They're learning that text has meaning and that we write to communicate. This is at the heart of what we are teaching our students with this kind of exercise.